Okay. So one framework is for questions like, how do we improve profits of a business? Let's say a teddy bear manufacturing company. So how do we improve profits is going to be first, you kind of want to organize it in a chart manner. Profit. So how do we increase profit? You can either increase the revenue, or you can decrease costs. Now, the choice of words is important. Revenue is the more general term. It's not income. Income is a sort of subset of revenue. Now, if you want to increase revenue, what are you going to do? What are the broad categories? After this sort of first level, you're going to look at the breakdown of revenue. So, volume. How many teddy bears can you sell? If you sell more, then you're going to have more revenue and increase profit. That's one way. Another way is to make the teddy bears more expensive. So price. Sorry about the writing. So increasing price or increasing volume is ways to kind of structure this problem, and you can sort of think of more specific examples of increasing volume or increasing price. How do we get rid of this? And, you might get creative with it. 2-for-1 deals, or trying to make more luxury teddy bears. You could try to look at manufacturers to increase volume and the feasibility of it. But this is just a breakdown of how you can sort of structure your cases into a certain framework. And this is for profit-related questions. Now, looking at cost, there's two types of costs. So again, if you want to increase profits, you can decrease costs. So there are your fixed costs that don't change. So things like rent of your business or manufacturer, insurance. I'm not going to write that. Interest payments for bank loans, they generally don't change. And then there are variable costs. These change along with the amount of output produced. So if you increase the volume here, you're going to change the cost here because it's going to take more money to make more teddy bears. So variable costs include things like materials. I'm not going to write that, running out of space. Labor. So this is a very simple sort of framework that you can use for questions related to profit. All right. Another framework to learn is a competitive threat enters the market. A new teddy bear business opened up. So, first thing to look at, impact on your business. Here you want to look at, are they stealing your customers? And which customers? Look at the segment. And how much are you losing? Next, look at opportunity. What is the competitor targeting? Is it profitable? Is teddy bears doing really well and they're looking to undercut you? What is the size of their opportunity? So look at it from their perspective. Thinking of whether to enter a new market, this is from their perspective. They're entering it because they can, undercut you, or they see an attractive opportunity in a particular segment that's underserved. So, let's say your teddy bear business isn't paying attention to the adult teddy bear business for anxiety, and they see, a huge market size there that's extremely profitable because adults have a lot of money to spend. The last category, response. What are you going to do about it? So, there's a bunch of responses. You could just ignore it, do nothing. You could try to mitigate it. Maybe start a new product. You could try to align, maybe you could try to make sure that, maybe your price is more competitive and lower that so that, adults will choose even the children's teddy bear because your price is so competitive. You could just copy them, adult anxiety toys and a new launch. Or you could try to collaborate with them, enter partnership. Make sure that, you could try to, I got nothing. Acquire them, take their souls, break their legs, eat their hearts. Okay, another framework is pricing a product. So a lot of these frameworks or questions have to do with, a lot of specific branches of the tree. So really digging down into analysis of one portion, because businesses might be having issues with, one portion of whether to expand into a market or launch a new product. Here, we're just specifically looking at pricing a product. So when we're first looking at the price, we want to know, how much is it costing us? We also want to know what are people going to pay for it? So what's the willingness in the market to pay? And are there an established market of competitors or substitutes for the product? So here, I think we already covered some elements of costs. So fixed costs and variable costs. So again, fixed costs is the costs that don't change with the increase in production. So let's say the manufacturing lease agreement, you're always going to have to pay the same amount of rent, but variable costs would be the raw material. So let's go back to our example of the teddy bear. The raw materials, the cotton or whatever you use to stuff the teddy bears, if you make more teddy bears, you're going to have to increase or pay more because, things cost more. And there's also another area you could think about. So investment costs. If you have, put a lot of research and development into a really nice teddy bear, or you really invested into the business of making teddy bears, you have that cost that could be, fixed in terms of interest payments, but that initial investment is another category. The willingness to pay, what is the demand? You also want to see if, maybe there's a luxury portion. Maybe because you have the best teddy bear on the market, customers are willing to pay a premium, like a Gucci teddy bear or a Louis Vuitton teddy bear. It might be a luxury good. Finally, competitors. Are you going to price it above the competitors? That might make you less competitive. Or maybe it's some sort of Veblen good where, because it's such a luxury item, having it more expensive than your competitors actually attracts more customers. But most commonly, it's about pricing it a bit below so that you're more competitive than your substitute product, or on par or somewhere around that range, so that they could sort of look at your product and think your customers are getting more value by you having some differentiator from your competitors. So maybe two bears between you and your customers cost roughly the same, but your bear has a T-shirt or something, and that makes your offering more attractive. Let's say you come across a question about how to grow a business. So imagine, a taxi cab company. You are asked to help grow this taxi cab company, and you don't know where to start. You want to start again at the first level. What are the basics? So what do they do? What's their core business? It's driving people around and getting money for it. And then there's stuff outside of the core business. Maybe you can find a new product like the taxi medallion system and try to think of a new scheme to grow the business. But let's focus on the core first. In the core business, you can kind of focus just on the current segments to just grow across. So horizontally, and here you could think about, what you can do generally to make everything better. So things like better service, more competitive pricing, better marketing. These are general things across your business segment to grow. And then there's another way where you could go horizontal or up. And here you might choose to invest in a specific segment, a vertical. So things like the fastest growing segments. So here you could think about, who are you using the most taxis? Is it now young adults or young professionals? You got to focus on something very specific here instead of generally trying to make everything better. You're going to focus on a specific portion of your segment or your customers. So you might also think about technological innovations, self-driving cars. You could look at specific geographies of your customers if you're international and focus on Asia or something like that. Another category is looking outside. So instead of focusing on your business and just trying to grow what you're currently doing, you could focus on things that are new and try to expand your business. So, new product. You could look at adjacent businesses or products that complement your current services. So, I don't know, if you're good with cars, you could start fixing cars. You could start offering insurance. You could start a business around the taxi medallions, maybe starting some sort of investment. And you can also try to not only start new products, but new business. Sorry, I should write products. Here, you could think about, again, instead of complementary products, you can look at complementary businesses. So things like buses, trucks, or motorcycles. This is just one example of how to grow a business, and we have, the general sort of stuff that you might look at for growth, and then more specific stuff here for your analysis based on the specific question and the business that is tailored to your case. Okay, let's look at a framework for dealing with questions on how to cut costs. So let's say a company comes to you and says, our customer service support system is way too expensive. We need to cut costs. So you're going to look at, why do they need the customer support in the first place? Can they reduce the need for customer service? So again, we're looking at general categories that are mutually exclusive, but also exhaustive jointly. So reducing the need for customer support is one factor. But what about the thing that is actually costing us money? The customer support workers themselves. Can we make sure that we're more efficient with the resources? So can we optimize how much value that they're bringing per cost? That way we don't need a lot of workers if they're wasting time or something like that. And then the third category might be reducing the cost of the resources themselves. So let's say resources. Sorry, my writing's messy. So the difference between the making more efficient and reducing the resource themselves is here you're kind of focused on productivity and trying to eliminate waste so that when you have this money going into the value creating thing, which is the customer support workers, you're making sure that there's no waste. Here in the resources column, you're kind of looking at instead of having the resource or the customer support workers there, you want to look at, can we find alternatives to these customer support workers? Maybe finding cheaper workers or renegotiating their costs by offshoring. This all sounds kind of unethical in practice, but hey, that's what consulting is all about, baby. Okay, going back to the need. Why do we need customer support workers anyway? Maybe we can get rid of them and make sure that people don't have jobs. So maybe we can replace it with some sort of AI chatbot or a self-service portal, or maybe we can just make sure that our issues with customer support are just fully resolved and that we just don't need it altogether. This, by reducing the need, you don't have to pay for it anymore. Therefore, you reduce costs by making it more efficient. You're paying for it for less and getting more value out of it, reducing costs. And by reducing the resource altogether, you might not be getting as much value, but you're ultimately reducing costs. Maybe you can somehow keep the same amount of value while reducing the resource. It's going to be, there might be some link here that you want to highlight in your analysis of the specific case. But again, this layer is the framework that you want to look at when you are dealing with questions about costs, no matter what it is. Another question type is whether a business should enter a new market. New market. And here the framework that's commonly used is whether there's an opportunity. Is there a market opportunity for this business to enter a new market? If so, what is the market size? And what is the growth of that market opportunity, the potential investment cost if you explore that new market? Is it worth it for the size and the growth of the potential? Okay. And for that new market, let's say, again, teddy bear company wants to expand into Asia. What is the potential share, the market share? This just means if they enter the teddy bear market in Asia, how much can they capture of that teddy bear market? So can they beat competitors? Is there a need for Asian customers to have more teddy bears? And what is the sort of differentiator to capture that market share? Another avenue to explore is the financial side. So we touched on it briefly in the market opportunity, but this is where a distinct category would be beneficial. So does it make sense? Does the numbers make sense in terms of profit? you're going to have to direct a lot of investment into expanding into this market. You're going to have to set up new costs for setting up operations in Asia, having a new teddy bear store in Korea or something. And what are the revenues? So here we have sort of the complementary, revenue versus cost. We saw this before for profit. It's just a breakdown. And finally, you want to look at, can you do it? Capability. Is it even possible to enter a new market? Is your business, maybe they don't have Asian-speaking employees and they can't hire any. Maybe there's certain risks involved to going into Asia, sanctions, or your investment might be trapped there. I didn't write these down, but these are also general categories, and you could sort of break these down further. So the sanctions point, it might be particularly relevant to teddy bear companies because, I don't know, the leader of China looks like a teddy bear and he doesn't particularly like it. The market size, you could break it down. The teddy bear market in China is particularly large because that leader, and you're going to make caricatures that are particularly politically loaded, and market growth, maybe there's a bright future for teddy bear companies in China or something. But this is the general framework. I didn't write it down, but I hope you're listening to these 3 layers. This isn't really a layer, I guess, 2 layers. This is the most general categories, and then there's subcategories here, and then beneath that is where you're going to have your more specific analysis. You might have another line of questions, and you're going to need a framework for types of questions related to whether you should make an investment. So it doesn't necessarily have to be buying shares of a company. It could be investing in a new product or a new business. So let's say the teddy bear company wants to consider investing in a new line of products, premium teddy bear. Okay, should the company make an investment? Well, how much will it cost? And how much will it bring in? Is it worth it? And is it complicated? Implementation to do the investment. So if we compare it with something like, buying a stock of Apple, the implementation, very simple. You might go to your online broker app. Is it broker or brokerage? I don't know. Who cares? And you might look at the cost of that, Apple stock and think that, hey, I think that Apple is a great company and it's going to, generate some more revenue. You might do an analysis on sort of the break-even point. So how many years does it take for you to recoup the cost if the Apple stock goes up? Let's say you pay $1,000 and, you get $100 every year. Break-even point is going to be 10 years. It's because every year you get $100 and it costs you $1,000. And then after that break-even point, you're in the money, baby. Okay, what about a question about launching a new product? Maybe that teddy bear company wants to launch a line of honey. Now, you're going to have to look at the current business and look at a specific target segment or demographic, or what grouping your customers together in a sort of box of a shared category, like age or geography or any other subset. So look at your customer segment. Who are you trying to target with the new line of honey? You're also going to look at your marketing strategy or your go-to-market. So when you have this honey, how are you going to put it out there? Finally, you need to look at just the, implementation. So you have a target for your honey. You have a plan to make sure that this honey gets to your target customers. Now, how is that all going to happen? What are the sort of breakdown steps that you're going to do in order to launch that product? Now, when you're looking at this level, you're trying to see all the steps required to launch a new product. You're going to see who that product's for. You're going to see, how are you going to get that product to that the people who need it and are going to pay for it, and what are the exact steps. So, in terms of who it's for, you kind of want to look at, is it going to be popular? If it's just a small group of people, middle-aged women who need honey for their tea, it's going to be a really small size, and it's not really going to grow in the future, so that might be a consideration. Who are the competitors in the honey space? You don't want to compete with Big Honey. They're really scary. Do people actually want this? Maybe you have a line of teddy bears for Winnie the Pooh, and children are seeing that Winnie the Pooh eats a lot of honey, and that's your customer segment, and customers really need honey because they can't, have their Winnie the Pooh without honey. This is a really stupid example, but you get what I mean. And your go-to-market, your sort of marketing strategy, you want to get the best sort of product. What's that honey going to look like? Where are you going to source it from? That should be a separate point, actually. But product, what's it going to look like? Where are you going to source it from? This is sort of the logistics and manufacturing or distribution. Price. How much are you going to sell it for? And how are you going to let these people know that you're selling honey? So promotion, how are you going to market this? The implementation, notice here that, however, there's a lot of overlap in this level. We saw the product is sort of overlapping with, customer need, as well as the competition. You're going to sort of look at price as well. Make those connections. For implementation, we're going to look at, when we're looking at product, how are we going to design it? Who's going to design it? Who's going to produce the honey? We need some honey makers. Who's going to sell it? we have a sales plan, but we need someone to actually implement this. And there's, logistics. How are we going to source the honey? Do we buy our own bees? Do we get a white label from some other honey provider? Do we kidnap a bunch of people in bee suits and make them reproduce bees? And finally, is there sort of other considerations of risk or looking at after the product is launched, how to, ensure that this process of launching the product stays successful even after launch. Another way a business grows is by acquisition or M&A, mergers and acquisitions. And one type of question you might get is whether to acquire a business. So here you want to look at the target business. Is it a good business? The standalone value. Is it by itself a solid buy? Next, you're going to look at synergies. So if you buy the business with your current business, is there going to be stuff that you're going to get out of it that's more than what you paid for? That's what synergies are. So Teddy Bear Company acquiring the manufacturer for teddy bear eyeballs. You're going to have synergies there because you're no longer, hiring this teddy bear eyeball company and trying to buy their eyeball product. You own them, so you can, make eyeballs straight in-house after your acquisition. And here, again, you have implementation. So can you do this acquisition, and are there risks involved? So let's go back to value. Here you might think of, the classical sort of categories are, future revenue. So breaking down from profit, is it going to be profitable in the long run? Revenue, and then you also have future costs, and then you have valuation multiples. This is just a way of analyzing certain things like cash flows. So when you're looking at whether a company is good, you want to look at certain metrics that go beyond, just revenue and costs. Are they a good business? Synergies, again, you want to look at profits, revenue, and costs. Maybe it'll increase revenue because the company you acquired is really good at marketing, and you're going to have synergies with marketing your product. Maybe it'll reduce costs. Sorry, that should be a down arrow. Again, in that teddy bear eye example, by acquiring one of the manufacturers that you contract out, you're going to reduce costs because, there's going to be a markup by having that separate company. But if you have it all under one house, you're going to give yourself the best deal. Capabilities. Can you actually do it? Maybe there's restrictions. Maybe there's sanctions. Maybe there's legal antitrust issues. Is it possible to do this? That is, again, some of the common. The final framework we're going to look at is process optimization. So looking back at the Teddy Bear Company, you want to optimize how you make teddy bears. So you're going to look at the current process. Map it out. Are there any bottlenecks? Is there capacity issues? Is there utilization issues? Look at where the general process is. Now, look into each step of the process. So really hone into, after mapping out the process, what each step entails. And here you want to see if steps can be eliminated, if costs can be reduced, if you can do it faster, if you could increase quality, or if you can sort of anticipate where things go wrong. 3, this is more of a step-by-step process than the others. You do this first, second, third. This is gains. So again, go through these processes again and see, the cost benefit. Will you gain? Is it worth taking out this step? Is it worth increasing speed for sacrificing quality? Is it worth increasing quality? And here you're going to get very specific in these steps.